By the lads, welcome back to the Cossy podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to brand new video. I'm back with Glenn for the Cossy and Glenn podcast. It's been a long time since we had a chat with Glenn, and he's back as Arsenal are making a couple of moves on the market, incoming and outgoing as well. It looks like it's a little bit different in July as compared to June, where things were a little bit quieter and very very stale. Right now, Arsenal making moves. Arsenal selling some players. Arsenal making bids. Bids are being rejected, and we're going to talk all about it in this episode. Glenn, welcome back to the show. Hope you're doing well.
Nice being back. Hopefully you're good as well. Yeah, July is definitely more busy than it was in June. Also, another thing, June, transfer window opened like in the middle of June. So yeah, we're expecting a lot of work in July. Obviously, preseason is about to kick off. Euros is ending now. Teams are getting down to business. I cannot wait to see what we do over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in terms of what we are expected to do, I want us to start off with a big story today. Nico Williams was asked about his preference in terms of a transfer this summer. Now, we know that Barcelona and Arsenal are going head to head for him. And, it's a transfer that we will know, maybe much of the information about it when the Euros come to an end on Sunday. So after Sunday, we expect a lot more information on this deal. But in the last 7 days, there have been some positive signs towards Barcelona. There have been some positive signs towards Arsenal as well. But the player yesterday came out during a press conference, not a press conference, but a media interview. He was asked about Arsenal and whether he would see himself in England, and he said, we grew up as Atletico Bilbao fans all our lives. Me and my brother Nico Williams, we are Atletico Bilbao. However, we watched Arsenal. We used to watch Arsenal. We used to like Arsenal, and yeah, I can see myself in a red and white shirt. Now, we could dig into that a lot, but I also want us to dig into this deal because there is a lot of there's a lot of reports saying that he prefers Barcelona, and Barcelona have a bigger advantage in this deal. Do you think that the player could actually choose Arsenal, for any reason, above Barca?
Now, there's like a 15% chance of that happening. On the real, I feel like there's a big chance he would say Barcelona. There's a big chance he'd like to stay in Bilbao. Obviously, that's where his family is. That's where his brother is. And even moving to Barcelona, there's a lot of reasons why he'd want to move to Barcelona. First one, to stay, close to his family, his brother and all the other guys. Number two, that combination in Spain with the Yamal, I think he'd be excited to be like, oh, can I also go and, have that with Yamal every single day, every single week at Barcelona? Barcelona themselves maybe would try 10 times harder to try and get him just for that, because in Spain they are looking very good, and that is only for like 5-6 games across a tournament. Now imagine them for 50 games in a season. That could be another reason he might decide to go to Barcelona. And most of those Spanish players, their dreams are to play for Real Madrid, to play for Barcelona, Atletico Madrid. A lot of them, like Zubimendi, would not want to move out from there. A lot of those players always want to be there. I remember when Arteta and Alonso were players back at Sociedad, when they were players, they were like, should we leave for Everton and Liverpool? Should we stay here? There's always second thoughts. Now, there's still a part of him that would think, okay, Arsenal have a better project. I'm not sure about Barcelona right now. That is pointing to our side. Maybe Barcelona not having enough money to get in. That is also pointing to our side. And also, maybe he wants to go and play with the Yamal, but maybe he wants to separate himself from that. Maybe he wants to have his own, kind of shine and go and try himself over in England. A lot of those players, they've grown up watching the likes of United and Arsenal and all of those teams. So maybe he'd want to go to, separate himself from all the family and the other players, the Spanish players. Don't get comfortable. Separate yourself. Go out there and do something more meaningful, like in the Premier League. I think there's still a chance of that. So the 15% chance does point out to him wanting to come to Arsenal. But then again, it's not only Arsenal. There's Liverpool as well. Another factor that is not great for us is, can we promise him you're definitely going to start every single game? I think at Barcelona, there's space for him. I think Yamal on the right side, left side, I mean, the likes of Torres are there, Felix has been there, but they can definitely, do without those players and have someone playing on that side. You're definitely promised a role. Over at Liverpool, he could be promised a role. At Arsenal, we have a couple of players who are playing on the left side and Saka playing on the right side, so we don't offer him a lot in terms of starting. So a lot is pointing out to 85% why should he join Arsenal, but there's still a 15% chance he might want to join. We never know what is going on in the player's mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you usually, because when I look at this deal, I'm like, it's a deal that Mikel Arteta is obsessed with. I don't know why he's obsessed with him, but of course we've seen his performances, we've seen his highlights at the Euros. Fantastic player, fantastic kid. But do you see Arsenal, if there was no Barcelona, that certainty? Do you see Arsenal, willing to go 58 million euros on this kid and 300,000, a week?
Yeah, if Barcelona is not there, I would say we're probably favorites. If Barcelona or Real Madrid are not there, I would say we are favorites to get him ahead of the other teams. Apart from Man City and Madrid, and now Barcelona in this situation, I'm not right about any team in terms of convincing them. Yes, I think we can convince him to join Arsenal. Would we want him? That's the thing. I think Arteta loves him, Spanish and all that. I think Arteta would want him. And as we discussed yesterday, as you mentioned, Arteta is ruthless in some occasions. Maybe he's looking at Trossard and Martinelli like, nah, I will still want more. And maybe he's looking at Nico Williams like, this is the one who's going to give me more. He feels like Calafiori is going to give him a combination of Zinchenko and Kiwi and Tomiyasu. Maybe you'd feel like Nico Williams would give him a combination of Trossard and Martinelli, pace, directness, and goals and assists on top of that. Maybe you could feel that way. So 58 million is around the price where these days 20 million is 50 million, unfortunately. So you have to splash a lot of money for those players. Yeah. And I think Saka is his first team, but I don't think he's 100% sure about Martinelli and Trossard yet. Maybe around 80% sure. So I think that is a position that I could look at, like, I could replace these players and have a Nico Williams there. So yes, would we be willing to spend that money? If Barcelona are not there, I think Arteta would be like, 58 million, let's improve that position and maybe not even get a striker. I don't think. Maybe I'm kind of like Arteta is kind of like me in terms of thinking can still get 90 goals even without a striker. A striker would improve our team for sure. I want us to get a striker, but maybe Arteta is looking at it like, what if I get, someone like a Mane or Salah back in the day, and then you also add more goals from Havertz and maybe try and get another 15 goals from Odegaard like 2 seasons ago, and Saka improves on his goal scoring. Maybe you could look at it like that as well. But I think I'd be ready to splash 58 million. If it was more than that, then, but 58 million, I think,
Yeah, I think it's a player that would come in. I've said this before. I think it's a player that would come in and bench so many players that in this Arsenal team. I think we would see kind of a revolution, the way we saw Trossard come in and get that impact and create that impact, to the extent that people really now think Trossard should be starting on the left-hand side over Gabriel Martinelli. I think he's phased Gabriel Martinelli out of our minds, and then he's definitely showed us that Emile Smith-Rowe on the left-hand side, there is no position for him there. So I think with Nico Williams, obviously he can come in and play on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, but he's such a baller, he's such a player. And for me, there's no reason why Arsenal wouldn't spend the money, in my opinion, and it's no surprise to me that Arsenal fans like him that much, and Mikel Arteta likes him that much as well. However, Mikel Arteta likes someone more, someone better. So we've been told today by The Athletic that Mikel Arteta watches many games for Real Sociedad. I think he's got a connection, with Real Sociedad. He played there as a player, so there's a big connection, and therefore, this summer, he was looking to get 2 of their players out of their squad, but it looks like Martin Zubimendi is not interested. Therefore, his interest is now in Mikel Mireno. Mikel Mireno is a big topic that we've got to discuss because it involves Arsenal's setup. It involves us, replacing Partey with a player who potentially is a CM, and also it involves us either upgrading our midfield or downgrading our midfield. So today let's start off with the Athletic Sport. The Arsenal have been told by Mikel Arteta that he is the player that he would love to sign in, and at the moment, Mikel Mireno has told his club, that is Real Sociedad, that he's not going to be signing a new deal with them, and Sociedad want to sell this summer. They don't want to lose him on a free. So the deal is easy, right? His release clause is 60 million euros, but he's expected to move for less. Is he the player? That is the question. It's an easy deal, but is he the player, Mikel Mireno?
I think he's a player to add to what you already have, not a player to replace what we have. Now, if it was Partey leaving and then Mireno coming in, I'm not comfortable with that. I remember I mentioned it like 4 weeks ago when you've been into Joao Neves and Fofana and Onana. I was like, if it's a Partey replacement, I'm not sure. If it's someone to come to our midfield and add to what we have with Rice, Jorginho, and Partey, then I'd be like, yeah, this is a player who's going to bring in something new. They've mentioned about his physicality in midfield, and that is what Arteta loves in midfield. He wants us to, suffocate teams, have 90% possession. The other team has one shot on goal, not even on target, and we have like 15 of them. That is great. Like seeing Arsenal like that, I'm very happy. Like that was the best thing about Arsenal last season for me. The fact that we didn't allow any teams to have any shots against us, even the likes of Man City. So maybe he's looking at Mikel Merino, the person who won the most duels in the whole of the top leagues last season in Europe, and is like, if this guy is added to the ability of Rice and Jorginho in midfield, we could be absolutely incredible, to the point of where it's like, listen, and experience as well. 28 years of age. I didn't mention it yesterday when you talked about it. They said they don't care about his age. They feel like this is great. You already have trusted in Jorginho. Let's add another one who's 28, 29, 30 to bring in more experience. So he's obviously is also Spanish. I'd not be surprised if it's not only Arteta that wants him, but also a few of the coaching staff. I think Arteta listens to the coaching staff a lot. Like the goalkeeper from the coaching staff, like the coaching staff, like set pieces, like I think he listens to those guys, all of them, like a lot, and they give an opinion. So if one or two of those people tell Arteta, listen, I feel like Merino is going to come and do this and this for us, I think Arteta would be willing to listen. But I think it's also more of Arteta really, really wanting the player. Now, you're right, it definitely changes our style of play completely, or the positioning of players, for sure. If you bring in Merino, obviously Rice is not going to be on the bench. Either you play Rice as a number 6 and Merino as a number 8, which for 1 or 2 games, I don't mind it. But for the whole season, I prefer having Rice up front with Odegaard defending from the front, which would mean Merino is on the bench. Now, if Merino is coming as a bench player, I'd be like, listen, we are improving our quality. Yeah? Merino on the bench, he can come on as he does for Spain. He can come on to score goals. He can come on to win those duels in midfield. As a bench player, I'd be okay with it. But that means if Partey and Jorginho are both staying, I think I'd be okay with that. But I'm still worried about Partey's injuries. I really wish there was a way we could get 2 midfielders, but I think that would be maybe too many players in that position, as they would feel it's too many players. Yeah. I'd really want midfielders. If Partey is going, I'd want Merino and someone else. But I have this feeling if Merino came in, I don't think in a midfielder. And I know you don't like it in terms of Rice playing as a number 6, but I think we could see it for at least 50% of the season, Rice playing as a number 6.
The problem I have with Declan Rice playing as a 6 is I think we can do better with them in other positions. 8, yeah. That's number 1. Yeah, in the 8. And also, secondly, I think you can find a good number 6 that can complement Declan Rice. I don't think Declan Rice is a very difficult player to complement. So, if we, for example, if we are playing Vieira and Odegaard, that's a very difficult midfield to complement as a 6, because Vieira is not as hardworking as as Rice. And maybe Odegaard, his ball-winning capabilities, he presses very well, but his ball-winning capabilities are not good as Rice. But when you have a number 6 that is playing alongside Declan Rice, literally what you have to do is to make sure that you stay central, because Rice's winning ball-winning capabilities are insane. So I just feel like a player like Jorginho, a player like let's say Douglas Luiz would have been very good. Actually, a player like Kimmich would have been very good. But in the when you look at the bigger picture, do you think Mikel Merino could be a long-term successor of Jorginho? And Mikel Arteta is looking at him and saying, you're 28, you're getting into the evening days of your career, you're no longer having the energy to carry the ball box to box. Therefore, you're going to settle into the DM role. Maybe do you think that is how he sees it?
No, I don't think it's being seen as a long-term successor for Jorginho. If I was to predict, we get Merino this season, and then next season, Partey and Jorginho are going to be there after next season. I think both of them will have left. I would be surprised if both of them are here. Then I think we'd get a number 6 then, and then we'd have Rice playing in both positions, and then Merino's a number 8. So I don't think it's a direct replacement for Jorginho. I think Arteta would still maybe look for someone else to, replace Jorginho next season. I don't think he's a long-term. No, I think he's really actually just coming to play as a number 8, and maybe Rice to move to the number 6 for majority of the game. So no, I don't think it's a direct replacement for Jorginho. The question I had for you is, would you rather Arteta have 3 midfielders that he's using for 38 games out of 38, or would you rather have him rotating depending on the fixture. Where if you're playing, Southampton at home and expecting to score 3-4 goals, go more attacking, have Rice as a number 6. And then if you're, it's a game that you're playing against Man City and very strong midfield will need to defend, you throw in Rice and someone like a Mireno there. Or do you rather just prefer just have your midfield 3, whichever game, the same midfield 3?
I am a big advocate of squad depth. I think a squad like Arsenal's right now, in terms of what we are going to try to achieve and the kind of games that we're going to play, we are going to really need a lot of squad depth. Like, I think we need 2 attacking midfielders, 2 number 8s, 2 number 6s that are reliable, that are good. But I think at the moment, if it is true and we're getting 1 midfielder, I think our priority doesn't lie in the 8. I think our priority would lie in the 6, because
for sure,
yeah, those 2 players there, you need to explain for them a lot. You need to give a justification for them to stay in the squad a lot. Jorginho, experience, winning mentality, pedigree, but he's got those the legs problem. He doesn't have the legs to run up and down with the young midfielders. Partey, he's got the legs, the physicality, the experience, best in the world in his position. But again, he's never, he's never fit. So I thought, I kind of felt like maybe Arsenal should have just gone for a 6 this summer, and then we would have done other reinforcements later on. So Mikel Mireno, I'm just going to ask you some few quick fires here. Mikel Mireno or Amadou Onana? Just signing one.
Oh, I would go with Onana. Between those 2, I'd go with Onana. That is if Partey is staying. I'd go with Onana because Onana can play as a 6 and a number 8. And he's used to the Premier League. I'd go with Onana.
Mikel Mireno or Martin Zubimendi?
Mireno for sure. Because Zubimendi, I don't think, as we said yesterday, is built. I don't think his build is Premier League build. I think if you put him up against Souček, they destroy him. I know you mentioned something about Kimmich. Players would not be able to get near him. Maybe Zubimendi is the same, but I'd be worried about Zubimendi that midfield role unless we were keeping all of our players. And I think Zubimendi will need a lot more protection from Rice. So I'd rather have Mireno.
Okay, Mikel Mireno or Joshua Kimmich?
Okay, Mitch, 100%. Number 6 guy. Mainly, yes, as a player, for sure, the player is incredible. He can play right side as well, but mainly because I really want a number 6. I really want a number 6. I think if you get a number 6, the midfield role, we always say the midfield is your spine. That is the engine of the car. It doesn't matter how good your car seats are, how good your tires are. If your engine is not working, it's basically useless. Your midfield is there to protect your defense, and it's there to transition the ball from the defense to the attack. We need the midfield to be strong, and we need to start preparing for the future in terms of Jorginho and Partey leaving. Although Kimmich is not young, he's still younger than them by 3 or 4 years. So I'd still have I'd pick Kimmich for sure, 100%.
If you're just joining us, Arsenal have a boost on Mikel Mireno. He's told Real Sociedad that he's going to leave them this summer. He's not going to sign a new deal with them. They're going to sell him, and Arsenal are among the clubs interested, including Barcelona. So let's see how that one pans out. And also, Nico Williams is not 100% against the idea of signing for Arsenal like people have been making out. He actually said he can see himself in a white and red shirt if the opportunity arrives. So we will see what happens with that. But basically, in terms of Mikel Mireno and Nico Williams, that Spanish duo, that is what is happening on that front. Let's move over a little bit to the strikers, because Nketiah today has received a wonderful proposal in terms of people who want him out. A wonderful proposal from Marseille. I don't know whether he would see it as a good proposal, but I think it's a good proposal for him as a player to go and, rewrite his history, rewrite his career, and find maybe somewhere else he could play football. But that is going to have tragic repercussions for Arsenal's transfer season in terms of who comes in as a striker. If Eddie leaves, maybe we could see Arsenal be a little bit more serious about the centre forward position, because the Athletic are reporting that Mikel Arteta and Edu, they're all still reluctant around the idea of a new number 9. They all still think we have Eddie, we have Gabriel Jesus. There is no reason to panic. So let's start off with Eddie, and then work our way into the effect of such a transfer to who comes in as a striker. Do you see him go to Marseille first and foremost, and do you see him leave this summer?
First of all, Marseille and Arsenal. What's up with Marseille and Arsenal? There's so many players. I just counted like 10 players in my head. Kolasinac,
Yeah,
Aubameyang, I remember Saliba,
Saliba
Guendouzi.
was over there.
Like
Genduzi, yeah.
this, yeah. Tavares was there. Like there's so many Arsenal
Yeah,
and
Tavares was
Marseille.
there as
So
well.
I mean, most of those players are not gone there directly, but it looks like we have a good relationship with them in terms of changing plans and all that. So now, in terms of Nketiah and Smith Rowe and Nelson, those players, Smith Rowe, I absolutely love him more than the other two. But Nelson and Nketiah, they're Arsenal boys. They've gone up at Arsenal. Don't hate them at all. I want them to, when they leave Arsenal, I want them to go elsewhere. And they do very well. I want them to go and smash it. Some players leave Arsenal, and you're like, I don't really want to see them doing well elsewhere, you know. But for players like
But Basi,
Smith Rowe and yeah, very good example. So players like Ketty and Nelson, if they left Arsenal, I'd be like, I want you to go and do well. I want you to go and find a good team and go and do well there and prove yourself there. Absolutely no problem. You're Arsenal boys. Now, would Nketiah fit in at Marseille? I think Marseille have just appointed De Zerbi as a new manager. And De Zerbi, the kind of style that he plays with Brighton, a lot of pressing and possession football and all that. Basically, if a player is coming from Brighton, Ajax, they fit in well from for Arsenal. So he could be he could be good there. People usually say it's easy to score goals in France. Now, I'm not saying Nketiah cannot score goals in England. I mean, people will say Giroud can score 70 goals in a season in France. I'd like to see how many goals you'd be able to go and get there. I still do believe. I know you disagree. I know many people disagree. If Nketiah gets 38 games out of 38 over at Marseille, I think you can get them 14 goals or something over there. I think you can get them 14, 15 goals. It depends. In the Premier League, it's tougher. But if you're telling him you're playing every single day, you're the first choice striker, you're not going to bench.
has it gone off? I think
Now,
it's
the
gone off.
only other
Oh,
thing I'd have to
it's
say
gone.
is depends. He's been very comfortable at Arsenal. Eddie Nketiah has been very comfortable at Arsenal for sure. Does he go to a different country and shine? Does he go to a different country and automatically start shining and scoring goals and assisting and being comfortable in a different country? I think he does. Because I think he actually does. I think he does. The only worry for Marseille and Arsenal doing business from Nketiah, I don't think Marseille are going to give us enough money for Nketiah. So it would have to be, it would have to be, listen to us, we listen to you. Are you going to give us 25 million or something? I don't think they're going to pay enough money for him at all. I don't think they're going to pay money for him. But I think you'd go there and do okay.
However, the thing with French clubs, and I don't know how they do this, French clubs are not financially constrained as Italian clubs actually. Remember, we pulled off a very good deal for Balogun with Monaco, like a very, very good deal. I think it was around 35 or less than 35, but around there. Yeah. So there is this financial power that French clubs have. They can sign players. Marseille themselves, they've been trying to sign Mason Greenwood in a deal that would have cost them around 40 million. So I think they have the power to spend, but they might not value him at 35 the way a Crystal Palace would, the way a West Ham would, because they would, essentially English clubs would look at him and say, he is English. He's actually homegrown. So, that works for us. So probably that's one of the reasons. Now,
you asked another question about him potentially staying, right?
Yeah. Do you see him stay?
If we don't get more than 30 million for him, if no team comes and offers 30 million for him, I think he ends up staying. Now, unless he pushes a move and like, nah, I can't stay, I'm not going to play, I really want to go, and Arsenal like, okay, listen. I mean, players like that, the Haaland boys, I don't think we can force them to stay because they've already done a lot for the club over the years, like they've gone up, so people would want them to go and just do well, whatever. I think Arsenal will be able to say, okay, fine, we'll take 25 million just to go and play whatever you're doing. But I think this time you need to, be strong enough. Chelsea asking for like 40 million for Broja, Broja, one game of the last 2 years or something. Nketiah and Martial, if Martial was being sold by United today, they would ask for like 30 million, 40 million if he was being sold. Yeah. So Nketiah has done a lot more than what Martial has done the last 2 years, a lot more than what Broja has done the last 2 years. So we should be able to be getting that 35 million. But the worry is, I don't think like those teams value him at that much. So unless it's like an obligation to buy or an option to buy or a loan move, I think it could be. But yeah, I'd not be surprised if Nketiah is still. I actually expect him to be here at the start of the preseason. I'd not be surprised if he does leave. It's like, after 2-3 Premier League games have already been played and he's featured in maybe 2 of them.
Now, how important is it that we move on, Eddie, for you? Because you're one of the people, and I wanted really to discuss this with you because you're one of the people who are on my opposite when it comes to Arsenal needing a striker. You're not under pressure. You're not. Yes, you do think Arsenal would, should get a striker probably, but you're not on the extreme end like me
Not
and
panicking,
the people.
yeah.
You're not panicking like the people, in the comments and the people on this channel. So, how important is it that Eddie leaves so that we get in someone?
It's very important. Now, the team you're competing with is why we are having to make a lot of these changes. If winning the league, if 80 points is enough to win the Premier League, you keep Nketiah, you keep Nelson. We know you can get 80 plus points with those players. Absolutely no problem. You can bring them on. They can score a couple of goals. But the team that you're competing with is Man City. It's very rare that I don't think Man City ever have like deadwood players. I don't think you can really like look at Man City and like they have like 4 or 5 players on the bench that are deadwood. No, you look at
Maybe
the bench.
only Calvin Phillips and Matthias
Calvin
Nunes, maybe.
And Calvin Phillips was kicked out very quickly. And Nunes will be kicked out this summer very quickly. Like you look at the Man City bench, you can't count like more than 2. But for us over the last 10 years, you have Cedric on the bench, you have Pablo Mari on the bench, you have El Neni on the bench, like players who never play and they're never going to play and they won't really have an impact.
They're not good enough.
Yeah, so I don't think Nketiah is the worst striker ever. I think he's better than the likes of Shamak and players like that we've had. I think he can score goals.
Is he?
But the level that we are, the level that you're trying to go to, he's not the answer. That is for sure. So it is important, not only for us from a selfish point of view. For him, I want him to go and do well. I just know, like, if he stays here, he'll be wasting his time. You're not going to play. Just go and do well somewhere else. There's a couple of teams that want you. Go and try and be a first team player there. Take that whatever you learned from Arsenal, which is a lot, playing with the likes of Odegaard and playing under Arteta. You've learned a lot. You've played under Wenger, played under Emery. Go to those other teams and you've learned something. Like his mentality would be higher than the players at Southampton, for example, because of what he's learned at Arsenal. So go there. Maybe when we talked about Eze today morning, we said that Crystal Palace, they see him as a king, maybe Nketiah goes to like a Southampton, they're like, oh, this guy is bringing that Arsenal mentality, and he scored Premier League goals before, he scored goals at Stamford Bridge, winning goals against Man United. Let's bring him here. So it is important for us to let him go for himself as well, for himself to get game time, and for us just to move on. I think I actually wanted Nelson and Nketiah to be sold in 2021. I did transfer videos in 2021 and said my main thing at that time was Martinelli and Saka and Smith-Rowe, they've come to the team and I feel like they've overtaken Niles, Nketiah, and Nelson. Yeah. So I was thinking, did Nketiah get too comfortable? Did Nelson get too comfortable? Did Maitland-Niles get too comfortable? That is how I felt that time, and I wanted all 3 of them to be sold. Yes, Nketiah came and scored some last-minute goals. Same with Nelson, and they were rewarded the new contracts. Fair enough. I don't think they should have been put on that money or those shirt numbers or whatever. But yeah, at that time, he gave them the new contract. So I think right now it's time for us to move on. We've already moved on from a lot of players under Emery and Wenger. I think El Neni is basically the last one, and Xhaka. I think now it's only Nketiah remaining, maybe, and Nelson. I think it's important for us to move on from the old Arsenal. Now let's become this totally new Arsenal. No Wenger players, no Emery players, just players who've joined us from the last 3 years. Different mentality. It's very tough to change the mentality of a player that was already under 2 or 3 different regimes. But if you bring in fresh players, been competing for titles elsewhere and all that, you start afresh, and it's important for Nketiah himself to go and start afresh. He's been here for a long time, to be honest.
Now, Eddie leaving opens up a small gap. It's not a gaping gap. It's not a gaping hole. Again, it's a hole that Arsenal can live with for a whole season and then address next summer. But Eddie Nketiah leaving, ideally, was something that we discussed, I think, internally at Arsenal. And the solution was to go for a younger striker, a bit of a younger striker, like Sesko, to replace him, or someone like Joshua Zirkzee. Now, if Eddie leaves, are you still on the same stand we don't need a striker necessarily to win, or if Eddie leaves, you're now Gyökeres Osimhen must come in.
No, whether he stays or leaves, I want Gyökeres or Osimhen to come in. I'm not really looking at Nketiah as the reason for my decisions in terms of striker. No, I want us to get a striker to improve the team. So whether Nketiah stays or leaves doesn't matter. So for him to stay, when you get a striker, he's going to be like fourth choice. He's going to have to leave for his sake. So if I want us to get a striker to take it to the next level, again, if 85 points was enough to win the Premier League, I think Arsenal can win the Premier League without a striker. If Man City are not in the Premier League, we'd win the league twice in a row, without a striker, without whatever, without whoever, even with just one goalkeeper, we'd win it comfortably.
I mean, you've got to look into it in this way. Whichever way it is, regardless, Arsenal cannot compete with themselves. So right now, the test that we have is City.
To go further in the Champions League, we also have to, do bits over there as well, and we need to improve our squad. And the truth is, we've tried a lot of things as Arsenal. We've tried a lot of things. We've tried to improve our left back position. We've tried to improve our right back position. We've tried to improve the goalkeeper situation. We've tried to improve the centre backs. We've tried to improve the attacking midfielders. The only thing that we haven't really tried to improve is the striker. So I want us to try and improve that. Maybe that's the last piece of the puzzle. Maybe if we do improve that striker position, we win the league. We haven't tried that. So if we get a striker like Gyökeres and we still don't win the league, then you're like, okay, maybe one is not enough. Maybe we need to get two. Maybe we need to get three. Then you keep on improving the team. So that is the main reason I want us to get a striker, to keep on improving the team. And I think, it doesn't really matter in terms of Nketiah staying or leaving. I just want us to have a new striker to be able to compete with Madrid, Bayern Munich, Man City, and those teams.
Okay. Now, personally, I've got a general worry that however much Arsenal really are linked with, many strikers, but I've seen Arsenal linked with such, with such players. I know that feeling when Arsenal are linked to a player and that player is not going to come. Benzema, Higuain, Di Maria, I still have that feeling. Rooney, I still have that feeling. I know how it feels. I know what it feels like when Arsenal are linked with an impossible target. So let me ask you: do you also have a feeling that we might not see a striker arriving at Arsenal this summer? Okay, Glenn is off, but when he comes back, we'll be able to get his thoughts on on the striker situation. So we'll come back. I was asking, do you also think or feel like we might not see a striker come in this summer? Like, yes, we've been linked with a couple of them, but at some point in time, you kind of feel like this is not so concrete as the left back Calafiori deal, or as the Mikel Mireno, or as the Nico Williams deal. Do you feel like Arsenal, because the general feeling around the club is that this striker market is very, very blunt and very blank. So do you feel like they might not just bring in anyone? They don't feel there is anyone good enough out there?
If the prices of Gyökeres or Osimhen don't go down, I think we won't be getting that caliber of striker. I think they'll still get a striker, but it could be like a 25 million striker from someone that we don't know, someone from some of those leagues, Netherlands or Italy, or someone from Sampdoria, Sassuolo, or such kind of teams. I mean, you might end up getting a striker from there. I think we'll definitely get a striker, but I'm not 100% sure which level of striker we're going to get. Is it going to be the 90 million ones, 100 million ones, or the ones who will be a little bit cheaper? The truth is, there's not too many strikers that are out there. I was not able to mention 5 realistic ones that I could get. Yeah. If we could get anyone, Watkins, Isaac, those are incredible, but those are not realistic. So there's not as many as there were like 3 years ago, and there was the likes of Vlahovic and Isaac coming from Sociedad. There's not too many. So, but if we're able to sort out that position, just like the goalkeeper one that we've sorted out recently, so that we don't have to focus on that position for the next 4 or 5 years at least. That would really help us if we can get a striker, because that's the position everyone looks for. Like Chelsea are desperate looking for strikers. West Ham are desperate looking for strikers. Tottenham are desperate looking for strikers. So it's not an easy position to get. So I don't think we're going to finish this transfer window without getting a striker. I think you are. But if one of those teams do not drop the price, I think you might end up getting the younger, cheaper striker.
Yeah. So there are other options out there. We will discuss more when we get more from the striker zones. But at the moment, Arsenal are still keeping their cards to their chest first and foremost, and secondly, they still see Nketiah and Gabriel Jesus as enough players in the squad to drive Mikel Arteta at least for one more season. Now, Glenn, another area Arsenal have invested money in every single summer has been the goalkeeping department. Like we invested a lot of money in the goalkeeping department. If goalkeepers win you the league, the number of goalkeepers we've signed, we would have a trophy there. We would have a league already.
If Nico Williams was a goalkeeper, it'd already be an Arsenal player.
So, but before we get into it, by the way, I want to ask you, why do you think we are really changing, a lot of goalkeepers under Mikel Arteta?
It's a weird one. I mean, the Martinez and Leno, the Martinez Leno one. I did understand Martinez wanted to move on. Would have rather kept Martinez at that time, but Leno was good at that time, so whatever. Turner was, I don't think Turner was an Arteta signing. I think Turner was kind of, a Kroenke kind of signing to impress them, so that one did not work out. I don't think Turner is a great goalkeeper from what Nottingham Forest fans have said. They think he's awful. So I've seen Nottingham Forest fans asking...
Was it too bad? Is it too bad that he cannot be back up to a goalkeeper that almost plays every game?
They signed Turner at Nottingham Forest to be like their second choice, and they had to bring in another second choice to replace him. I've heard Nottingham fans saying, how did Turner join Arsenal? Like, I've heard them say that, like, they don't rate him at all. So that's when I understood. The one for Ramsdale was a weird one. Most of us thought Ramsdale was going to be a first choice goalkeeper, but you explained to, like, Raya is going to, better at kicking. Fair enough. Now, the last 2 weeks alone, we've signed Raya on a permanent deal. Mm-hmm. We've given Carl Hein a new contract. Yep. We are talking about signing Bentley from Wolves.
Yeah, and we've made an official bid.
We've made an official bid, and for 50,000, that is a third choice goalkeeper. That is not a second choice. 50,000.
We are gonna talk about
50,000.
We are gonna talk about that.
We can put 50,000 together, and we can buy him by ourselves, like in the chat, and all of you guys watching. That is a weird one. So that's like 3-4. And another thing, Okonkwo's left. That's another goalkeeper. And Okonkwo is not the only academy goalkeeper to leave. I actually researched yesterday. There's 5 goalkeepers who've left the last 2 weeks from the Arsenal Academy. 5. So I've made them a lot of movements. Now, what I can say, I'm hoping this is the last time you're talking about goalkeepers for the next 5 years. I'm hoping Ryan now becomes the first choice goalkeeper, and we have a second choice goalkeeper, and that is it. And the third choice goalkeeper, you can change it here and there. You can bring in an academy on, because yes, we always talk about goalkeepers every single transfer window together with left backs and stuff. So hopefully we do finish up with the goalkeepers this time around. I also think it's a combination of Ramsdale maybe wanting to move on, Turner wanting to move on. So a bit complicated. If we could keep 2 goalkeepers happy, then it would be great.
Yeah. Now, today, Arsenal made an official offer for a new goalkeeper, and that offer...
50,000. 50,000.
That offer is 50,000. That has been 50,000 pounds, guys. That has been confirmed by Sky Sports. What's weird for me is that he's valued by Wolves at 1 million, and we have gone and made a bid for 50,000. This is lower than what they paid for when they got him, because they got him at 57,000. So they got him at 50.
Arsenal are taking the mick. Arsenal are playing around with these goalkeepers.
So he's going to be a third choice goalkeeper, and I think, but at 30, you would value him a little bit higher than 50,000. So do you think this is a bid that is trying to, just test the waters, or Arsenal genuinely believe this is a 50,000 goalkeeper?
I've been watching football since 2004. And even then, the market was, low in terms of money, but I've never seen in my life anyone being offered 50,000. This is the first time. Even in 2006, I never seen anyone being offered being bought for 50,000. I was even surprised to hear that they bought him for 57,000. That is crazy. If you get a goalkeeper for 50,000, first of all, that cannot be a backup goalkeeper. Because if Raya gets injured, imagine, I can't believe this. Imagine Liverpool or Man City.
it ends in two ways, right? It ends in two ways. It either ends in one of the greatest, like, cheapest signings who became the greatest goalkeeper ever, or the
Mm.
most disastrous stories ever recorded
Just
in football.
just imagine if, let's say, Ortega Moreno replaces Ederson as the first choice goalkeeper and Ederson is on the bench, and you're playing against Man City, the Carabao Cup, and Ederson is coming on as a second choice goalkeeper, and you're bringing on your 50,000 goalkeeper. That is just crazy, man. I can't believe it. So that will not work out for us for sure. As a third choice goalkeeper, no problem. But that has got me thinking that if you've sorted out a first choice goalkeeper and third choice goalkeeper, does that mean the second choice goalkeeper is going to be Ramsdale? Because this guy cannot be the second choice goalkeeper. Or is it
No,
going to be Karl Hein next season
no,
to be given the
it, it,
chance
it
as second choice
can't
goalkeeper?
be. It can't be. Karl Hein is going to go out on loan. There's a big
Alone.
possibility. But the second choice goalkeeper coming in depends on moves by Ramsdale. So if Ramsdale moves, Arsenal sign a second choice. If Ramsdale stays, Arsenal don't sign a second choice. And I'm hearing that Arsenal having problems moving him on.
3 goalkeepers in one transfer window would be
Yeah,
unheard of. I've never seen anyone signing 3 goalkeepers in one transfer window.
yeah. So it could happen.
But hopefully, after we sign these 3 goalkeepers, it's over for the next 5 years. We don't deal again with goalkeepers. Now, second choice, third choice goalkeeper sometimes would want to move on. Maybe a team would want them to go and be first choice goalkeeper there. Then you can always replace the second choice goalkeeper. But hopefully, Raya can, stamp his authority in that position and have that position for the next 4 or 5 years without having to switch. But Karl Hein, let's see what happens to him. I think Ramsdale is going to leave. Unless, we want 50,000. That 50,000 is in my head now. 50 million for Ramsdale. I don't think anyone is going to pay 50 million for Ramsdale, unfortunately, especially if there are teams like Madrid and Bayern wanted him, then okay. But the teams that would want Ramsdale, Crystal Palace, West Ham, those teams, they're not going to pay you 50,000 or 50
million.
50 million for Aaron Ramsdale. They're not going to pay 50 million for Aaron Ramsdale. So that could push us to having to keep him. My first choice was keep the defenders the same, keep the goalkeepers the same, don't change anything for next season. But it brought up a lot of drama last season. If Ramsdale comes on, people are looking at his kicking, that everyone is studying that and like, okay, is he going to make a mistake? Let's see. It was too much, but I don't think we're going to get that kind of money for him. But it is very interesting, man. The goalkeeper thing, I think this month they're going to hear a lot of it. Don't be surprised if over the next 2 weeks you're just hearing about goalkeepers.
Yeah, 100%. Now, we have done the greatest sell Arsenal could ever have made in their history. Arsenal have agreed a £7 to £8 million deal for Nuno Tavares to join Lazio. Lazio have sent in their bid. It has been accepted. And there is also a sell-on clause. Arsenal will get some money if if Lazio sell Nuno Tavares. I think I'm so confused by this. Like, I'm very, very surprised that Arsenal managed to get 7 to 8 million from this guy because we bought him at 7 to 8, and he has had a lot of disastrous, moves, and the PR around him is so negative. Coaches not liking him, dressing rooms not liking him. And some Arsenal have pulled off a 7 to 8 million deal, which means that we're not making any losses. Yes, we have to give a sell-on percentage to Benfica, but also ourselves will receive a sell-on percentage if Lazio sell. Now, one question: 7 to 8 million, could we have got more, or is that the best we could have got?
Let's not get greedy. Let's get what we've been given. I've seen that they're paying us an hour ago 5 million first, and then add-ons the rest. Let's not try and get greedy. Now, the only thing that could happen is
structure that we used as well with Benfica
to buy him. Okay,
to buy him. Yeah,
I heard that Ajax wanted him. There was talk of another team wanting him. The only other way, even if I've accepted it, maybe an Ajax is desperate and they say, we actually have 10 million euros for him. Then you can say, okay, you can have him. But in terms of getting the same money that we bought him for, I think that is great, because at Nottingham last season, he went there for a full season and he played 8 games the entire season. 8. So
he was benched by a guy called Aina.
He benched. And out of those 8 games, I remember when he was subbed off in the first half against Nottingham when he was at Arsenal. I saw him. I think it happened to him at Nottingham last season. I think he was subbed off in the first half. So that is a problem. If 2-3 managers sub you in the first half of games in different seasons, then it means like they see you as a weak point on that side. I don't think Tavares is a back 4 player. I think he's a back 5 player, because when he went to Marseille playing in a back 5, he did well. I think the same with players like Bellerin and Kolasinac. I think those were back 5 players, not back 4 players. Kolasinac going forward sometimes would do something for you. So I think Tavares, if you just told him you have three players protecting you at the back as a defensive midfielder, just go forward and do your thing, I think he can do well. But it never worked out. As I've always said, I don't blame Tavares and Lokonga. We just moved on from them. The time we signed them, we were a team that was competing for top 5, top 6. We are now a team that is trying to catch up with Man City and Bayern and Madrid. So we've moved on from there. But I remember when we talked about Lokonga and Tavares when we signed them 3 years ago, I did say, it's okay to sign these younger players because you can sell them after a few years. When we bought players like William, you cannot sell them because by the time you're trying to sell them, they're already 60 years of age. There's no one who's going to buy them. So these younger players, you can always get rid of them after 2-3 years, and this is good. At least we can get the same money that we did buy him for. You're not going to lose any money and sell on close. If he goes and does well and gets sold for 40 million, we get something from that as well. I think that is something that we never used to do. Sell on clauses and all that. That is good.
And buybacks.
Yeah, we never do.
I mean, no, we used to have buybacks like. Fabregas, we had a buyback. Hileb, we had a buyback, but we never exercised them really.
Then the back did not back. They never really came back. So we need to be including all that in the deals, because if it does well, especially for younger players, if it goes and does well, then we can get at least 6 million from that. And then if you add the money that we've gotten at first hand, 8 million euros plus the 6 million euros later on, 13, 14 million from a package of Tavares, not bad. So all the best to him. I don't think it can ever work out for him. If Tavares was a great left back, we'd not have been looking for a left back right now.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a take and run deal for me. Take it and run. If he can agree personal terms with Lazio, much better, quickly, we get that one out of the way, pretty much done. But I kind of feel like we have got less money from Lokonga then. And that's what actually opened up my eyes. Because if we're getting 10, 7 to 8 for him, how about Lokonga? We're getting 12. Do you think that we've been kind of cheated by Severe in that Lokonga deal? Because again, it's a loan plus obligation as well.
Yeah, I think Tavares went and did okay at Marseille, but didn't do anything at Nottingham. For Lokonga, I think he did well at Crystal Palace and he did well at Luton. So I think you should be getting at least 17 million for him or something like that, 17 to 20. But it depends on the team that you're dealing with. If you're a Premier League team would want him, then we'd get that. So yeah, I think they're kind of cheating us, but I think Arsenal are just in a position where they're just desperate to get rid of those players.
100%. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. We are going to take just a few comments because the Euros game against England against Dutch is starting very soon, and you don't want to miss that. We don't want to miss that as well. Emeka says, Cossy, if Mikel Arteta promised Ramsdale that he will rotate the 2 goalkeepers, he will stay. Glenn, how often can you rotate goalkeepers? How well can you rotate goalkeepers?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of rotating goalkeepers, and I'm not also a fan of rotating the back 4. Since back in the day, I've always preferred keeping those 4-5 players the same majority of the games. Now, these days it's different, but yeah, that promise would be lying to him. Let's be honest. Raya is the one who's going to be a first choice goalkeeper. Maybe the only thing you can tell him is Carabao Cup is yours. You're trying to get to the final this season. We'll also give you a couple of FA Cup games.
Yeah, true. So. Listen, if you want to rotate goalkeepers, it can happen. Mikel Arteta, promised to rotate goalkeepers, but it isn't that easy, right? It isn't that easy. Okay. Isaac says we are negotiating well, economizing well, no PSR problems. I'm sure Raya himself will fund the
50,000 will never ever get into any problems. Even the FA would never look at us like we're spending only 50,000. They'd be like, Arsenal, you just pass.
Someone just said Arteta doesn't like peace. I mean, listen, these are not the worst deals in the world, but 50,000. Okay. Let's see how that one ends. Osman says, "Good evening, Cossy and Glenn. I'm streaming live from South Sudan. Thank you so much." The people who are asking me about Nico Williams. Nico Williams was asked in an interview, and he said he would see himself in an Arsenal jersey. So there is nothing like he doesn't want to join Arsenal. He only wants Barcelona. No. So if Barca can agree to sign him, he will go there. If we can agree to sign him, he will go there as well. Thank you so much for watching. The England game is just a few seconds away. I hope that whoever you support wins, and I hope that whoever I support wins. And we'll talk tomorrow. The Arsenal transfer roundup is already on the channel, coming out at 10:30. So make sure you don't miss that at halftime. Pop up, watch that, and go back and watch the game. We'll see you soon. Have a blessed evening.